It was late evening when the stagecoach rolled into Dust Creek, leaving a trail of golden dust that shimmered in the dying sunlight. The driver called out the town's name, his voice echoing through the quiet streets. When the wheels stopped, a young woman stepped down, her boots sinking slightly into the dirt road. Her name was Eliza Mayfield. She carried no trunk, no bag, only a worn envelope in her hand and a faint look of uncertainty in her eyes. The letter she carried had brought her across 2 states. It was from a man named Samuel Hargrove, a rancher who had lost his wife 2 years ago and had placed an ad for a mail-order bride. He hadn't asked for beauty or riches, only honesty, kindness, and courage. Eliza had written back, and now, here she was, with nothing but hope. Samuel stood at the edge of the street, hat low, boots dusty, his eyes calm but curious. He hadn't expected her to be so young, nor so delicate-looking. When she saw him, she hesitated, afraid of what he might think of her empty hands. But he smiled, a quiet, genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Miss Mayfield?" he asked. She nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, sir." "That's me." He looked behind her, expecting to see a trunk or even a small bag, but there was nothing. "You travel light," he said softly. She lowered her gaze, cheeks pink. I lost everything on the way, sir. The coach was robbed 2 towns back." "I'm sorry." Samuel didn't say anything for a moment. Then he took off his hat, stepped closer, and said in a low voice, "You came all this way, and you're still standing." "I already have what I need." Eliza blinked, unsure how to respond. The kindness in his tone was something she hadn't heard in a long time. He offered his arm, and she took it. Together, they walked to his horse-drawn wagon, leaving the quiet main street behind. The ride to the Hargrove ranch took nearly an hour. The land stretched wide, golden fields, wooden fences, and a sunset so vast it felt like it swallowed the world. Eliza watched in silence, her heart heavy but somehow peaceful. Samuel didn't talk much, but every word he did say carried warmth. "The house isn't fancy," he said, "but it's home. I hope you'll feel that way soon." When they reached the ranch, she saw a small house made of cedar wood, smoke curling gently from the chimney. 2 dogs barked, running to greet them. A single lamp glowed through the window, lighting the porch in soft yellow. It wasn't grand, but it felt safe. Inside, Samuel helped her settle in. There was a single room prepared for her, simple, clean, with a quilt on the bed and a vase of dried flowers on the table. Eliza ran her fingers over the fabric and whispered, "It's beautiful." He nodded. "My wife made that quilt. She'd want it to keep someone warm." Days turned into weeks. Life on the ranch wasn't easy, but it was honest. Eliza learned to milk cows, feed chickens, and even help with the horses. Her hands grew rough, but her heart grew steady. Samuel noticed the quiet determination in her, the way she faced each task without complaint. She wasn't loud or proud, she simply worked, as if grateful for every sunrise. One afternoon, as they repaired the fence by the east pasture, Eliza paused to wipe the sweat from her brow. "I'm not what most men would have wanted," she said softly. "No dowry, no fine dresses, I barely even read properly." Samuel leaned on the fence post, watching the sun dip low. "You think a man wants silk when he's building a life from dust?" he asked. "No, ma'am, he wants someone who won't quit when the storms come." Eliza smiled for the first time that day. "And you think that's me?" He nodded. "I know it is." Their bond grew slowly, built not from grand words but from quiet understanding. He fixed her chair when it broke. She made him coffee before dawn. They ate together on the porch, listening to the wind sweep across the land. Neither needed to say much, the silence between them was its own kind of comfort. Then one night, a storm rolled over Dust Creek. The wind howled, rattling the windows, and the rain came down in sheets. The horses panicked in the barn, and Samuel rushed out to calm them. Eliza followed, her dress soaked, her hair clinging to her face. "You shouldn't be out here," he shouted over the storm. But she stood firm beside him, holding the lantern while he untied the horses. "You said I don't quit when storms come," she yelled back. He looked at her then, really looked, and for the first time, something deep stirred in his chest. She wasn't just brave, she was home. When the storm passed, they stood by the barn door, drenched and breathless. Lightning flickered in the distance, and Samuel reached up, brushing a wet strand of hair from her cheek. "You're shivering," he said gently. She met his eyes and whispered, "I'm all right, Samuel." In that quiet moment, He spoke the words that would stay with her forever. You brought nothing with you, Eliza. But I already have everything I need. Tears filled her eyes, though she tried to hide them. You mean that? She asked. He smiled. Every word. From that night on, things changed between them, not in sudden passion, but in the steady rhythm of two hearts learning to beat together. He taught her to read by lamplight after supper. She mended his shirts with tiny, careful stitches. They shared laughter over burnt bread, and quiet prayers before bed. By spring, the ranch bloomed again. Flowers dotted the field, and life returned to the land. One morning, Eliza stood on the porch, sunlight warming her face. Samuel came up behind her, holding 2 mugs of coffee. Thinking about the road that brought you here? He asked. She nodded. It feels like a lifetime ago. He looked out over the horizon. Maybe it was. Sometimes, the good things come after we've lost everything. Eliza turned to him, her eyes soft. And sometimes, they come when we bring nothing at all. He smiled, the same quiet, steady smile he'd given her the day she arrived, and said, exactly. And there, on that wide open land under the rising sun, they began again, not as strangers bound by a letter, but as 2 souls who had found what neither had been looking for, a home in each other.